Alright, we are back with thankfully our last day of 8 best of 3s in a single day coverage for ESL Pro League. And please, ESL, I know you're not watching this video, but if you happen to, can we just never do 8 best of 3s in a single day ever again? I think it was Scrawny on Snake and Banner raised this point up recently, but dude, we can't keep doing this many games in a single day. This is my job, and I am burnt out. So how is the average viewer supposed to watch all this stuff? Now, of course, that is a trick question. They also watch me to supplement the games they missed. So thank you, ESL, for also creating the work environment for me to exist in. But also, can we just like meet in the middle? Can we just not do 8, please? All right, cool. Thank you. Anyways, we are now getting to the point where teams are qualifying to the playoffs and some teams are going home. Vitality and Spirit have exited 3-0 into the playoffs, while MiBR and Tyloo are leaving Sweden in the cover of darkness. Let's talk about them, as well as every team in between, so that we are ready for tomorrow's action. Before we do though, make sure you guys take a second, leave a like, leave a comment down below, and subscribe to the channel if you haven't already. We are trying to hit 10,000 subscribers before the end of the year. Thank you guys so much. Yesterday we jumped up like over 120, 130 subs, so we crushed past 4,000. I really appreciate that. Let's keep plugging through to that goal. Thank you guys so much. Anyways, let's go ahead and thank today's sponsor. That's right, this video is sponsored by Skin Club. They're one of the most popular case opening sites in the scene with over 100 custom cases backed by their provably fair system. You can open cases individually or wager your winnings against other users in case battles, either with players around the world or privately with bots if you want to avoid being smurfed outside of Premiere as well. But wait, there's more. Skin Club runs monthly events with free rewards to earn, free daily cases, and if you don't like what you earned, you can always go for a cheeky little upgrade to get something you do. If you want to play on Skin Club, you can do so at the top link in the description down below and get a 7% deposit bonus when you top off your account with credit card, crypto, or the 5,000 Peach 50 sand dunes in your inventory. Please gamble responsibly and only do so if you are over 18 and live in a country or jurisdiction that doesn't restrict gambling. Gambling can be an addiction, and you should never gamble for the purposes of making profit. Only wager what you are comfortable losing. If you or a loved one are suffering from gambling addiction in the US or Canada, you can reach out to 1-800-GAMBLER toll-free to get help. I want you to be safe and healthy always, so seek help if you need it. And thank you to Skin Club for sponsoring this video. Oh, by the way, mild apologies if some of the mic audio sounds a little bit weird at points here. My pop filter just hasn't been working lately. You guys might be hearing a lot of plosives when I'm talking. That's the popping sounds that you occasionally hear. And the pop filter is supposed to eliminate that, but mine just isn't working. If you're an audio guy and might know what's wrong, please leave me a comment. Anyways, we began the day with Falcons taking on 3D Max, and 3D Max closed this out pretty convincingly. This was a 2-1 affair. 3D Max started off strong with a 13-11 win on Inferno, then on Ancient the Falcons bounced back with a 13-7 win of their own, before a very convincing 13-2 victory on Dust 2 closed out the series for 3D Max. Now first things first, on the surface, Nico outside of their win on Ancient was not good. He was actually quite bad on Inferno and basically totally worthless on Dust 2, which is odd because those are two of the better maps that he typically plays. It was just not his day today. It's kind of hard to read too much into that. Falcons are so focused, so heavily weighted on their ability to take and win duels, so when the riflers aren't hitting, so much more of the demand goes onto Dexter's shoulders, he himself is inconsistent, and then things fall apart not that far off. Obviously, this is the huge dichotomy that exists within Pro Counter-Strike right now. We have so many rosters in the top 10, top 15 that are built on firepower and not much else. So when you see a team like 3D Max, who exists somewhere on the opposite end of that spectrum and is so buoyed and lifted up by their excellent team play and their immaculate setups, it's an interesting contrast. Because I would still take Falcons to beat 3D Max more often than not, but if you get a bad shooting day, you can't do anything to stop some of these T-side setups from 3D. Now, it's certainly not all strat book from 3D Max's side. I think Body has proven to be an incredible signing for them because his entry success, at least thus far, has been legitimately world class. Like, he is breaking open and getting double kills on these entries routinely against even some of the best teams in the world, and he was on fire, especially on this final map, where he would just go through the B main smoke, he would get you the double. He would lead the charge with this execute on Cat, we're going to talk about more in just a minute, he would get those 2 kills. Just very, very efficient entry fragging from him, which is something that 3D Max really didn't have in the previous iteration of the roster, so it's great to see how they've gotten even better since this signing. Now, what you're about to witness is pure Counter-Strike poetry. We're here on the 6th round of the first half, and this Cat execute is as perfect as you could possibly ask for. Falcons virtually have no chance to respond to this and have to give up the site immediately, putting 3D Max in a perfect position to win the round. So let's see what they do here and how they execute this utility so efficiently. Now first things first, after clearing tunnels, they're going to then take mid control and then cat control. They use all the flashes they need to clear those angles and then set up for the execute. They're going to throw the close cat cross smoke, the second smoke blocks the box jump. Multiple flashes come out, multiple Molotovs from the following players to ramp to box out any ramp pushes, and now Falcons are completely shut out of the site. They can get to elevator, sure, but there's not much of an angle. They have to fall back on long and concede the site. This gives Body plenty of room to walk around and start getting some picks. He gets a good opener on Tesses, Magisk gets the trade back on Gravity, Body picks up the double on Magisk, Dexter can't hit anything with the Scout, and there's no utility and certainly no weapons behind Falcons to do anything about this. Even on a full buy round, these kinds of executes are so hard to deal with because you're so reliant on the Opera, who is long, to do damage on the cat cross, but the flash is pushing him back. It gives Dexter very little opportunity to work, and everything falls apart that quickly after. And just to emphasize how great this utility is, let's look at it from a third-person perspective. Again, it's so simple, but look at how well executed this utility is. The first smoke blocks the box jumps, then they have the cross cat smoke, the flashes come out, the double Molotovs on ramp just neutralize any ability for that peak to happen, and Falcons have no room to operate. It's just so thoroughly well done, and that's my dogs. Anyways, to kind of put a pin in it, Falcons didn't have the shooters, and 3D Max have a system to where they can make up when the shooters aren't always there. That's the difference. Next up, it was the title of the video. Let's talk about GamerLegion versus Tyloo, because this is probably GamerLegion's best win with this lineup. I know that might surprise you because it's not necessarily a big name, but considering the pressure that GamerLegion were under facing elimination, the way they persevered through this game is awesome. Surviving not just 3 overtimes on Ancient, but then 4 on Inferno. So 7 total overtimes over 2 maps to come out on the other side of that with your mental intact, playing good Counter-Strike. That is awesome for a young lineup. There could not be a better formative win for GamerLegion than surviving here to stay in the tournament. They're not free yet, they still have to win 2 more games, but dude, the confidence you get from surviving this has to be insane. And not to take away from Tyloo at all, I think they played fantastic in this series, but in both of those overtimes, eventually you could just see the difference in quality between these two in terms of just nerve. Tyloo clearly had not been in a situation like this before, so in its own way, this loss is just as beneficial to them and their growth potentially. But on Inferno especially, those last 3 rounds where on the T side, GamerLegion just walk up, take the picks up banana, take the picks up mid, and just run it down Tyloo's throat is probably the most impressive rounds GamerLegion play at this tournament, because they were so confident in the swings they were taking. The trades were there when players went down. They just walked up to Tyloo and said, hey, you're either going to beat us straight up in these gunfights, or you're going out of the server. And they won. It's just incredible stuff. I would say in terms of just entertaining Counter-Strike, this is probably the series from today. If you didn't catch live, go watch the highlights. It's just really nice to see teams that are just scrapping for every bit of VRS ranking they can, and this is a do or die game for them. This can affect Tyloo's ability to get into the MRQs for their region. Same thing with GamerLegion. It's just exciting Counter-Strike. These are like the objective upsides of VRS despite its issues, is it puts more weight on games that otherwise wouldn't mean a whole lot, at least for that tournament they're in, right? GamerLegion aren't really threatening to win the event, at least not yet, so this game may not be consequential in the grand scheme of EPL's narrative, but it matters so much more to those teams now, which I think makes them way more engaging as a viewer. We then had G2 take on SAW, and as much as I would have really enjoyed SAW beating G2, Malbs and Muncie made sure that wasn't going to happen. This was 13-5 on Nuke, this was 13-6 on Dust 2. You know, listen, the firepower just didn't show up for SAW whatsoever, even though Mutiras was going down shooting, which I think is like the most respectable part about his game lately, is that Mutiras is just going to hit shots. It feels like every series SAW has played at EPL, there's just a random Mutiras highlight where you're like, wait, that guy's a 35-year-old in-game leader? That's actually crazy. Despite that, I mean, listen, G2 would again have to be struck by lightning to lose this series in pretty much every other context. You know, Snax may be a boat anchor around Muncie's neck, but he's still Muncie. I want to criticize Snax for this game, but I mean, they won, so yeah, you get a pass for today, Snax. Just for today. But I'm watching you. We then had a series that should have been more exciting than it ultimately was, Spirit versus the Mongolz. This was a pretty quick 2-0 affair, with Spirit winning on Anubis 13-6, and then closing out Dust 2 13-11. A Dust 2 map that Mongolz should have pushed to overtime, but fell apart at the last moment. More on that in just a second. But for Mongolz, I feel like the best way to go about this is that their 3 best players are Blitz, Senzu, and 910, with Blitz and Mizzino kind of changing spots depending on the day, but all 3 of those players were not good in this series, or at least not playing to their usual level. 910 really struggled in the 1v1 against Shiro, especially on Anubis, and then Senzu had an especially tough time on the Dust 2T side, walking away with only 2 kills, despite Mongolz almost pulling off a great comeback. And I really think they were on the cards to take this to overtime, if not win the map outright, because Spirit did not play their economy right at the end of this game. That's the best way to go about this. They were in a position where, coming off of a save, they managed to bring 2 AKs into a round. That very next round, Mongolz execute a perfect textbook cat push, leading to a 5v5 post plant. Spirit, instead of going to save once they got boxed out of that bomb plant for so long, decided to go for it late. They fail, and now their economy is on the back foot. In that very next round, they then go for this weird double scout force buy that also doesn't work. So now Mongolz have been able to claw their way back into the game and tie it up, and now we're getting down to these last few rounds where Mongolz hit a brick wall. In the round that could have given Mongolz match point themselves, they walk into a Donk Shiro double up that takes all 3 of the opening picks before things fall apart. And then, in the effort to push things to overtime, Blitz goes out mid on the back of a flashbang. He fast clears the door corner, but he sees Chopper on his screen. His brain did not see him. Meanwhile, the cat pushes on, and Magic is up there on the other side of the smoke on Catwalk, pulling off a great double kill with the M4, before he cleans up the triple with the 5-7, game, set, match. Mongolz simply fell apart at the end. They executed this T-side comeback beautifully. They managed to play around Donk's usually so impregnable CT side movement, and Donk was killer on that CT side. But those last 2 rounds, when they had the advantage, they couldn't find the openers, they lost their nerve, and then Blitz got unlucky. That's just how it goes sometimes. A great win for Spirit. I don't really think this one's going to hurt the Mongolz because I think they're playing so well, but that remains to be seen, as always. After that, we had NAVI 2-0ing Pain. It was a close overtime effort on Train that NAVI brought out 16-14, and then on the follow-up on Mirage, Pain just ran out of gas on that second half, conceding the match 13-6. I would say outside of that group stage victory over Spirit back at Katowice, this might be Navi's best win of the year so far, because we got all of the players to really show up when they needed it. JL had a great game on Mirage, which we haven't had like a JL carry performance in a while. Wonderful was incredible on Train, going for 31 kills and a 1.49 rating, and he was instrumental to Navi being able to stay in this match late down the stretch, because Bit, JL, even Emma were having limited, if not any, success. So Navi really gritted through some tough rounds, and we all know how scrappy and competitive Pain can be. For Pain, I really think this comes down to Davideus just having a wretched map on Mirage. He's normally such an influential, aggressive rifler, so key to them being able to take their mid control, where oftentimes he's coming up through underpass while Biguzera plays around the top box, but Davideus just couldn't find anything. His T-side stats were terrible, going 2-7 alongside Snow with the same scoreline. Biguzera only 1 kill better, same with Kawez. They simply couldn't find any opening. On the other side, this was simply a great pop-off from JL in that second half, going 12-1, just taking whatever he wanted. And again, JL has always been the X factor for this team, and it feels like him, most of all, has been the piece that has struggled the most since Navi's downturn going back towards the end of last year. So if he can turn it around, Navi just gets so much stronger when JL is present and having a great time. So if I'm Blade, if I'm Alexi B, I'm doing whatever I can to uplift and enable JL. We need to see more of that if Navi want to make a serious threat of themselves in the playoffs. We then had Vitality destroy Mouz 2-0. This was a very straightforward 13-6 affair on Inferno, and then 13-7 on Dust 2. So I'm going to take this opportunity to talk less about this game and make a cool point, I think. There's been a lot of discussion about the value of IGLs recently in the scene. I think we are seeing more than ever that a lot of teams are getting by with looser or even no IGL, at least in the traditional sense. There are less Kerrigans, Shuhis, Alexi Bs, and Apexes, and a lot more Snaxes, to put it lightly. However, I do think one thing that goes underrepresented in this discussion is that firepower may be great, but the best teams will always be the combination of firepower and good IGLs. Take no further than Mouz versus Vitality, because Mouz have world-class firepower. I would argue outside of ZywOo, they are man for man as good as Vitality. And in terms of just pure depth, they probably rank a little bit higher, because players like Mezzi and Apex, I don't think they're as good as Brolin and Spinks. Though, of course, obviously, ZywOo and Robs are probably better than Torji and Xerxes, certainly ZywOo and Torji in that example. However, Vitality, I think, will beat this Mouz lineup every single time that ZywOo or Robs doesn't have a terrible game, just because Apex is better at utilizing his pieces than Brolin will pretty much ever be. So the firepower gap is not so insurmountable that you can just obfuscate the difference in ability to call intense mid-round situations, something Apex is the best in the world at this minute. It's why Vitality are the most consistent team in the world, and outside of Spirit having an insane top end with Donk and Shiro, they are the #1 team more often than not, and the team I am more confident to make a semifinals or finals run than anyone else in the world, because they have the best combination of firepower and leadership. Until FaZe signed Munacy, and then things will get interesting. We then had Team Liquid shockingly 2-0ing Eternal Fire, and I do mean shockingly, because I don't know if anyone expected this. Eternal Fire, I think the best way to go about this firstly is Zontares did not have that great of a series. It was still Zontares, so he has moments of impact, but you want Zontares to be top fragging if you're Eternal Fire, not Jota. And if Jota is going to top frag, then you guys better be stomping whoever you're facing. No offense to Jota. And I know I said his name wrong 3 times, but it's one take. Shut up. On a different note, it was so nice to see my boy Naf just frag out of control, dude. The power of Canada coming to a Swedish tournament near you. Woo! That's what I'm fucking talking about, eh? Fucking Naf out there hitting headshots like he's out on the open ice with a clear shot at the goal, eh? Now, of course, in classic Liquid fashion, they did make kind of a dog's breakfast of both of these games. They went up bigly on Inferno to the score of a 9-3 T-side half, only to, you know, give it all the way back until they managed to pull off miracles to win the last 3 rounds. And I do mean miracles, because Woxic was one no-scope away from this game being over on Inferno. And he hit us with one of the best death slams this side of Nico. And the best part about it is that Woxic doesn't often death slam. He's not really that feisty of a guy anymore. So you can tell that this was just pure passion. He hit an insane shot to put him into a 1v1, and then Naf just falls out of the heavens through the apartment smoke, wide open. All he has to do is just hit the shot. He misses. That gives Liquid match point after an insane 5-round stretch for them to get it to that point. I feel in my soul how frustrating that must be for Woxic. And it looked like they were going to win the comeback and go into overtime, only for NAF and NERDZ to offer a 2v4 post-plant retake. That's gotta hurt. Going into Train, to better highlight the struggles that Zontares was dealing with, Zontares is one of the best entries in the world, arguably one of the best entries to ever play the game. He only had 3 successful entry kills across a double overtime game. They were against NERDZ, who also at least got 1 back in that matchup. But every other time he took an opener against a Team Liquid player, he failed. And that's just really, really hamstringing Zontares' impact. And you need that, because Eternal Fire, they love to hit you with a really big hammer. They are going to push a bomb site 5 times in a row and break out in huge multi-kills and make you sweat. That's their system, and I actually love it. I think it's really entertaining. But when Zontares isn't leading the charge, swinging the biggest hammer himself, they definitely get a lot more toothless. Shout out to Ultimate, Twist, and Naf though, who all combine for 30 bombs here when this goes into overtime. It was just genuinely nice to see Twist have a superstar performance, because he just doesn't get to have those very often now he's the IGL, and that's why everyone hates this. Because when Twist gets to be Twist, he is one of the most entertaining and gifted mechanical players to ever play Counter-Strike. Twist highlights hit like crack, and I want more of them, please. Alright, we're done, right, guys? No more games to talk about, right? We're done for the day? We covered everything. Yeah? Alright. I'll talk about Furia versus MiBR. This was just not a very entertaining game to me. Mainly because I hate watching Furia. But congrats. They won. MiBR, they're eliminated. That sucks. Lukowski had a bad series. Furia won 13-9 on Anubis. MiBR gutted out a great comeback on Mirage to win it in double overtime, 19-17, and then they got 13-1 on Inferno. So much for an exciting conclusion, because nobody on MiBR can play Inferno. It's literally their worst map, and I hate watching it. Fallen and K-Serato morph into the best players on planet Earth when they have to play domestic competition, but they do so pretty much no other time anywhere else. Thus is the curse of being a Furia fan. And when I say this game is most likely inconsequential, who are Furia playing tomorrow? Let me just double check here. Oh, they're playing the Falcons? Oh yeah, Nico eats that up for breakfast, dude. That's barbecue chicken, that's collard greens, that's cornbread. I would expect a Nico masterclass. And now that I've said that, I'm sure they're going to find a way to lose. Such is my curse as a content creator. But I'm sure Falcons will pull it off. I just don't see Furia being long-lived in this tournament regardless. Anyways, we're going to go ahead and stop there for today. Make sure you guys leave a like, leave a comment down below. God, can you tell when I'm getting tired? Because I really stopped being able to speak when I do. Anyways, leave a like, leave a comment down below, and subscribe to the channel if you haven't already. It helps out immensely in the YouTube algorithm. Thank you guys so much for helping me reach 4,000 subscribers. Let's get closer to 5K and eventually 10K by the end of the year. Thank you so much. Thank you to Skins Club for sponsoring this video. If you check the top link in the description, you get a 7% deposit bonus next time you fill up. Thank you to Skin Club. Thank you to my channel members, Justin, Jesse, Furley, Milan Berta, Bubblesj, Dr. Cocktor, Patatas Kaftesi, PTR, B1 Games, Cody Foxworthy, Justin Vander, Vegt, Iron Flashbang, and Snowy White. If you want to become a channel member, you can do so with the link in the description down below for $5 support, direct link in your video, the name of the end of the video, just like this. As well as a custom role in our community Discord. Make sure you follow me on twitch.tv/LionHeartZ2. If you're watching this, if you're watching this video when it's live, I'm live over on twitch.tv/LionHeartZ2 playing viewer 10-man games on Cash. So drop on by, maybe you can get in the mix too.